Happy Thursday, 10 Hut with a side of whiskey. Thank you guys so much for subscribing to a channel, showing some love. So I really appreciate it. Again, thank you so much. We need to get to 100 so we can actually custom our YouTube channel.
Don't just watch subscribe. Don't just watch subscribe. You're usually watching it and not subscribing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Subscribe to our channel and it's gonna help us. So you just go to www.10hut.org, and we forgot the little thing going on right now across, but 10hut.org, and you go take you straight to the channel.
I'll put it right there.
But subscribe and share. That's how we get to our numbers. So subscribe, share, pass it on, and have them subscribe.
And if you want to share some whiskey too, we'll
actually, they should share their opinions about their whiskey. So if you want us to try some whiskey, because right now I'm drinking a shitty whiskey that I've had for like 4 weeks.
Cool. So today we have an awesome guest. This is something that I can say that I personally use this program through the VA. Jose and Dr. Will too as well. So it is I found out, I know some of you guys might be looking at it right now, Vocational Readiness and Employment. It is Veteran Readiness and Employment. So VR&E. So they just changed it. So anyways, we have Master Sergeant, Marines, fortunately,
You said fortunately.
Unfortunately.
It's always good to have a Marine on the show.
I'm just kidding, man. What's your favorite crayon?
What's your favorite flavor of crayon?
Actually,
there's crayons, man.
Yeah, so there's an actual former Marine guy down in San Diego. They actually have these edible crayons. So it's just crazy, and he's actually raising capital for it. But it's pretty cool, though. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. But anyways, I'm gonna, it's all yours. Just tell us a little bit what your experience in the military and what do you do now as far as helping vets.
Okay, yeah. So my name's Master Sergeant Erik Alston. Joined the Marine Corps back in 1990. Right before the Desert Storm kicked off. And, I retired in 2012. So when I first came in, the Marine Corps was like before the war kind of kicked off. So I kind of wanted to be, an FO. In boot camp, we basically learned that, hey, we were going to go to war. And then it was like, MWS is up for grab. Next thing I know, I'm a cannon cocker. So did artillery. And then pretty much did almost everything inside the Marine Corps besides recruiting duty. So I did the I&I duty. Did duty at TBS, the basic the school for trained officers and artillery, call for fire, machine guns. Later on, finally went to the drill field later on in my career. Was trying to get that out there forever. Then I went out to the drill field, drill instructor, combat water survival instructor. Also on I&I duty, kind of did the rifleman, instructed. Marksmanship. So kind of pretty much did it all. Did, a couple of employees deployments to, Iraq. Kind of did artillery, convoy security. Unfortunately, mortuary affairs, we had to do that our first time. That really sucked.
Yeah.
But I mean, you gotta, we gotta recover our bodies,
Yeah.
Did some crazy, little things out in Africa too, Liberia. That's a pretty crazy place too. Third world country, probably worse than Iraq. So kind of pretty much, had 21 plus years in the Marine Corps. Probably would have stayed in a little longer if I was able to stay stateside to see my daughters go to high school and stay in the area. But just like all of us, we decided to get out of the military at one point or another. And the reason why I pretty much got out was for family.
Right.
So I have a quick question for you right before we jump into what you're doing now and why it is that you do what you do. But during your shifting fire into civilian life, how difficult was that for you on that transitioning? Did you get any classes to transition out, like debriefs or anything like that? How was it, especially coming out as a master sergeant from the Marine Corps? How was that transitioning out, sir?
Yeah. So my transition was kind of smooth, but it was at like a pivotal point, like in the administration. I know that we're not like talking politics, but it is what it is with the hiring.
Yeah.
Because a lot of veterans, you know, they want to get out of the military, they want to get into the government. So when I got out in 2000, I got out and I retired in March of 2012. So there was a hiring freeze. Yeah. So basically, I already had contacts to basically like, okay, I'm gonna get out of the Marine Corps. I'm gonna work for either like range control or doing radar for the base. You know, you're making those contacts while you're in there, because with other veterans, you know, they retire. So I basically already had established I was going to, join the federal government, be a GS employee. But then when I got out, it was like, hey, there's a hiring freeze. We can't hire you. So it was kind of difficult for me at that time, because I was like, okay, hey, what am I going to do? I had a bachelor's in criminal justice. So my first thing was like, hey, let me go work for the sheriff's department, maybe do like some probation. So I kind of contacted them, because I was basically trying to do the steps of another, fellow Marine that lived in my neighborhood. Kind of went in the service, retired, did the probation. He said he liked it, and they're like, "Oh, you don't have to, you can't do that anymore. It's like you're going to have to go through, their little boot camp or whatever you call it, which is easy." Then after that, it's like, but you have to go work in the jails.
I'm sorry, I get compared to the Marines, right? Like,
yeah. So then I was like, I don't know if I want to do that, Yeah. So that was kind of like, I'm not really sure if I want to do that. I was starting to get some of the effects, with like PTSD. Didn't really kind of address it when I was in the military, because again, too, you're focused on leadership, so you're not really focused on taking care of yourself. So at that time, I was kind of feeling some of the effects of the PTSD, and then trying to get that addressed. Not getting hired in the federal government. So I was kind of like, it's not looking good right now. But, just being a Marine and, like going to make do, I just applied for the jobs that I was going to apply for. And then I was applying for one of the jobs on Camp Pendleton. And I was like, hey, man, I'll go like, shovel some like dirt and all this other crap, this trash on the base. And, the guys were like, hey, man, you have an extensive background. You got a degree. You have a lot of leadership experience. We want to make you, project manager. So pretty much out of the gate, I was just applying for a job on the base, and they made me a project manager. And then I basically was like, going to bases, all over the country, just managing, like employees and contract positions. And then I kind of opened my eyes up to, like, what's going on in the federal government and outside of the government and contracts.
So how difficult, or what was it like when, because you mentioned that there was a period of time where that there was a hiring freeze, you didn't know what the fuck you were going to do, you just applied, you threw out a blanket or a wider net to catch anything that might get it caught in that net in the U.S. government. Was it frustrating? Did it exacerbate your PTSD symptoms? It just, I don't know, man. The reason why I ask is that a lot of us transitioning out of the military, like, can't seem to find that path. But you were focused on getting that government job, but I'm sure it was a little difficult because of the hiring.
Yeah. You got to keep it in check, because at the bottom line is like, you got to feed your family. So instead of feeling sorry for myself, I was like, hey, I'm going to apply for whatever I can, even if it's like a crap job. And then that applying for that crap job turned into like, a golden opportunity where, the pay wasn't great, but it was a great opportunity. And then it basically fed my family until, that hiring freeze kind of left. And then I was like going to find out what I was going to transition into next. But ironically, so the company I was working for kind of went up belly up, and this is kind of how I found Voc Rehab. Because at first, they told me about it. Hey, you're getting out. You can apply for this. So I talked to some veterans rep. I said, hey, I'm curious in this Voc Rehab. Can I apply for this? And he's like, nah, you're good, because he's like, you're working. You don't apply for it. So then I never. And then years later, our company goes belly up. And then I'm like, oh man, what am I going to do? I've been doing this gig for like, 4 or 5 years. I got a degree I can't use. I'm too old to go to the freaking academy now, even though I could probably still pass it and go through that academy. But I'm like, I'm too old. So then I, reached out to Voc Rehab again, and they're like, yeah, hey, you can come in our program. What do you want to do? And the reason why I reached out to Voc Rehab too, because, basically I'm part of like Wounded Warriors and, some other veteran organizations. And a lot of the people that are helping you kind of address, PTSD and other issues, were counselors, and social workers. So initially I was like, like everybody else, hey, I want to go to USC, I want to be a social worker. And then when I started talking to my counselor, she kind of like was letting me know like what she did. And was like, all these other opportunities you can have being a counselor versus being a social worker. So then I was like, hey, that sounds great. Sign me up. I'm going to take like full classes and be done in 2 years. And that's what I did. Got my degree and then got hired on with the VA.
So you have a master's from USC?
No, I actually went to Cal State LA.
Oh, Cal State LA?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, initially, because they don't have a counseling program, they have the social worker program that a lot of veterans that are like attracted to.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Just to bring this to light, I met Erik in 2016, I believe, when I was working at Voc Rehab as a management and program analyst under their NPWE or non-paid work experience as a fellow, since I had an MBA at that time. And Erik came, and you could tell, man, like, I mean, veterans show up, they're asking for stuff, and then they get the denial. And that's the thing that I really want to talk with Erik about tonight is what are veterans' requirements to meet eligibility with Voc Rehab or veterans readiness,
and employment.
And employment.
Yes, new name, same letters, but new name.
Yeah. Basically, the bottom line is like everybody's an individual, and they have their own circumstances. So the hardest thing for most veterans to understand is, hey, my buddy did this, he got approved for this, he's doing a master's or he's doing this, so I should be entitled to that. So unfortunately, we come across that with veterans. It's like, yeah, a lot of us, we served. We had the benefits that's coming to us, but like our program is basically like for service-connected disabilities. So from Jump Street, if you don't have service-connected disabilities, at 10% or more, you can't even apply for the program. And then really it's like depends on, how they how they're an employment handicap. Because at the end of the day, it's like, do you have an employment handicap? If you're not working, or if you're not working, you haven't worked for years, okay, that's an employment handicap.
Yeah.
You have any kind of education? Well, if you got like associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, okay, you have education, so you kind of overcome that handicap. So that's what a lot of veterans don't understand. So, but if you have training or, you've been working as like a firefighter and you have, service-connected disability for legs, physical impairments, and you can't do that physical work anymore, then yeah, you can be entitled because, you can't use your job skills that you had before. You can't use your degree. That's where we come in and like retrain the veterans so that, we can get them in a new career that's not going to exacerbate their service-connected disabilities. So again, too, a lot of it's just, knowing about the program is just like, are you 10% or more? Okay, you can apply. But it would just say, it has to be like an impairment to your handicap. So it's kind of hard to say for a lot of veterans that, have like tinnitus 10%, which I think almost all of us have.
Yeah, some dumbass Joe forgot to put in his earbud.
Yeah.
Earbuds.
And I was artillery,
Are you
so
talking about yourself,
mine should probably be like 50, but we're all like 10%.
Hey, so I golf with Erik. I'm gonna throw it out there. I golf with Erik every once in a while here, and I swear I'm always like Erik, and then he's like, huh? So I know the hearing. Hey, Erik, me and Jose wear hearing aids, by the way.
Yeah.
And you probably should look into it too, because yeah.
it helps, but it does take time to get used to. Right in the beginning, you're like, what the?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Because you could hear things that you weren't hearing before,
Yeah.
But,
Okay.
It can get it, for the first couple of months. I got anxiety from it,
really?
but you just gotta drive on with it, man, because it does help.
I think the best part about the hearing aids is that so I have in mine constant background noise. So the constant background noise, like it's
Different
like
settings.
you can't really hear it. It's like white noise, right? But what it does, it prevents the tinnitus, the ringing of the ears, because your eardrum is constantly adapting to that noise versus just going crazy and making that whistling sound that freaking makes you like, what the hell's going on? Like, who's whistling?
It does help, but yeah, it does help. I would forget. Anyway, shifting fire, because we were talking about educational benefits, which for a lot of veterans, if you didn't know, it's called Chapter 31, correct?
Yeah. And then there's some changes too that I was just telling Will and like some of us that been in the program. So the new Secretary of the Navy, he just came out and he just said, it's a good thing, but don't really know how it's going to transition because it's brand new. It just started this month. So basically what he wanted to do is just like separate, voc rehab and Chapter 33. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of veterans that are just like, you earn your educational benefits. You can go use them wherever you want.
Yeah.
You come to our program, some of the differences is like, we're going to like make sure you're in a career that's not going to exacerbate your disabilities. So even though you want to be a pilot, but you got entitled in our program because, you can't use your leg, you can't use XYZ, we can't really approve those things. So 33, you can use it on whatever you want.
Yeah.
So the new secretary basically wants to say, hey, you have a separate pot for Chapter 31, and then you have a separate pot for like whatever your educational benefits you earned as a veteran. So like we're in the process right now. So if veterans are out there that went through our program and their ETD is still good, and entitlement date. So that's basically like, the ones that like discharged before 2013, you have the GI Bill forever. So there's no delimiting date. Veterans like ourselves that served before, it's like you basically have for post 9/11, 15 years to use those benefits, and then they just kind of go away. So pretty much if veterans, are out there, somebody went through the program and they still have, their ETD still good, they can apply for a new COE, a certificate of eligibility, and that's through the GI Bill. So they just go to va.gov, and then you'll go to education, and then you'll see like two different pots. You'll see voc rehab, and then you'll see GI Bill. And then just have them put in a new application for school. If they want to attend school, they have to pick a university, and then they'll give them a new COE. So like if they used,
what's the COE?
Certificate of Entitlement.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He just said it.
I said that already. You got to type get some crayons.
I
think it's the Air Force.
Yeah.
Air Force might not use crayons, but they sure do.
I was making
the Air Force is always trying to one up everyone. Now he has some Sharpies, like seriously, man.
Look, I was trying to make sure that people understood what Chapter 33 and Chapter 31 are.
Yeah,
that's good.
So basically, like for all the vets like ourselves, we came in Montgomery, Chapter 30, and then if you serve like after the for 9/11, then you're eligible for post 9/11, which gave you better benefits. And then you had to elect. You can only use one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with veterans coming to our program. If they're on one, if they're getting Chapter 33 already, they can come see us, and if they're entitled, we can put them in our program, but it's like after, that semester ends because you can't use two benefits at the same time.
Eric, one quick question. So sorry, Didi. Is it still the same at, you have to have 1 day, at minimum 1 day left on your Chapter 33 to qualify for the same BAH on Chapter 31?
Yeah, I would say that, but that's the biggest thing that can change. So I can't really speak on that because my thought on the whole thing is if you're not elected to use those benefits, then you might not get the BAH, because that's historically that's how our program was. It's like our focus is to get you a job.
Yeah.
So we're going to get you a job. We're going to pay for your training, pay for the tuition, This is our stipend. It's $600. Back then it was probably like 4 something. So I know veterans probably like, went to, filed suits and all this other stuff. So we elected them to, use your post 9/11 instead of ours.
Yeah.
So with the new change, I really can't answer that question.
Oh, okay.
Right now we're still waiting for more guidance. But like, the guys that are like in our program, it's not like, everything's like grandfathered,
Yeah.
If people on our program, they're going to continue, they don't need to be like, oh my God, I'm going to stress out.
So here's a question. So someone that gets out of the military, what is your recommendation, especially with his new policies in place?
Yeah,
so they go after Chapter 33 first and then vocational? No. Okay, vocational. Yeah. But they have to apply. You have to get your rating. You have
to have a service-connected disability. Yeah. And what I'm finding now is like a lot of them are getting them out of the gate. For most of us, it took us 3-5 years, whatever, to get your stuff adjudicated.
10 years.
Nowadays, they're getting it out of the gate. Like pretty much you're like, wow, you just got out and you already have your stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, the device is like, especially for the GI Bill Forever guys. I mean, there's really no incentive for them to use that other benefit if they don't have to.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is like, again, too, if they qualify for our program, and that's, if they have a employment handicap or a serious employment handicap.
Yeah. That's strange. I know a couple days ago, Jose, you sent us an email in regards of for those that actually used up the VRE, we're gonna get their money back, right? Not the money back, but at least their time back.
Talking about.
Yeah.
So it's brand new, and I don't think I've known that several veterans that like have applied for it and got their entitlement back, like myself. Jump Street, boom, came my months back. But I know other veterans that applied for it, and there was like, we don't know what you're talking about because it's brand new. I mean, it just started on the 1st. So I think it's just
a lot of us and don't expect, for our viewers, don't expect that you're going to get like all of it back. No, you're going to get a certain amount of, like for me, I applied for it. It gave me like 3 months back. It doesn't give you a lot back.
Yeah.
If you had that one day, you're going to get that one day back.
Yeah, you're going to get that one day back.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Hey, so Erik, VR&E, a lot of people don't know this, but Chapter 35, which is for dependents, falls under you, correct?
Chapter 35 is a different program. So basically, Chapter 35 is for, like the VA has separate programs. We're 31, 33 has their own. 35 has their own as well. So basically 35, it's just veterans. You have to be TNP, total and permanent.
Yeah.
And then your dependents and your spouses are, entitled to education benefits. It used to be 48 months. They changed it to 36 months. But what they did is they increased the stipend. So the stipend used to be lower. They used to have 48 months. And I think, can't remember when the change was. It was either last year. It was probably last year, and then so now they're just 36 months, but their stipend went up.
Gotcha.
And you have to be permanent for that. And then basically that's another organization within the VA, and they put in an application for them.
So here's my big thing, right? And I'm going to put this out there. If any congressman is hearing this podcast at any time, I want you to understand that a 4-year degree takes 48 months, not 36. So GI Bill should be 48 months. Voc Rehab, if 40 months, should be 48 months. If my child goes to school, it shouldn't be 36 months. It should be 48 months because it takes 4 years.
Yeah, but I think
12.
But the way they're looking at that is like, you have normal breaks in your thing, right? So I mean, you can get it done in 36 months if you're doing full time. So that's what full time is. So just because I explained it to veterans too, if you're going full time.
Yeah.
And then you have your normal breaks, within your school, then those are breaks, and those months, those days and months are counted for entitlement. So if you actually go into Jump Street and use it, then
I think a lot of one of the things that I've seen with veterans, including myself, like when you got out of the military and been in the military for so many years and get out, like you got to start from scratch, man. Like not even like You don't even test out, so it eats up a lot of your,
Yeah, a lot of the times you're testing even lower than what you. So you
Yeah.
need to play catch up,
right?
For maybe a year or two, maybe a year and a half, until you're actually getting accredited courses to apply to your degree. So
not for me, man.
No, that was good too.
The
one thing is good too. So like the veterans out there, or if they're not active duty, I mean, if you can do the tuition assistance or the TA, what was it called again?
Tuition assistance.
Tuition assistant.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, just do that, because I mean, I had a first sergeant told me that, like when I went on I had duty, he's like, just buy a house and go to school.
Yeah.
And then back in the day, it was actually stopped at one point when I was almost had my degree.
Yeah.
Because basically what it was is like the government was like kind of thrown out. It was another thing to like, hey, we're going to help you get your degree while you're in the service. And then so many veterans jumped on it, they stopped it. And then they were kind of trying to segregate it by services, by saying, and they were trying to hook up the Air Force, of course, right here. Well, Air Force, you're going to get this many months. Marine Corps, you're going to get that much. And I was like, hey, that's a lawsuit waiting to happen. And then pretty soon they came back and they stopped it and they said, hey, if you're on the tuition assistance, you can continue. And then if we run out of money, we run out of money. But, I would, that's pretty much how I went forward, because I already had my bachelor's degree. So when I came in the program, that's why I wasn't in the program that long. I was just like 2 years and done.
Bam, bam, yeah.
Yeah, it takes leadership, man. Literally like leadership to allow this to happen. Because I know for a fact that there's not many folks were able to have that, opportunity.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy, Eric, that you just brought up a good point. I want to remind everybody that my mentor, Brian Cole, Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, E9, or not of the Air Force, but in the Air Force.
Yeah, all the name.
In 2006, came and put a boot in my ass and said, what are you doing? You're just working and you're not accomplishing anything for when you leave service, right?
Yeah.
And that woke me up really quick, because he said, you need to go to the education office and start doing something about your education.
Yes.
So what he encouraged me is every Tuesday, there's a CLEP test at the education office. And this happens at every installation in the military. It's some FOBs out in Iraq and Afghanistan actually have a very small education office, but they actually have a little area where you can study or go to school or whatever, access to computers back in the 2000, whatever, when I was out there. But every time I got a chance, I went and took a CLEP, either supervisory CLEP or English. I took Spanish and knocked that one out of the park just from like conversating with my parents, So if you speak another language, you should CLEP that out. You should CLEP and Dante anything that you think you can pass. And then after that, start studying for different CLEPs, because they're free. So when I got out of the military, I actually had 186 college credits, and everybody hit me up and said, or all the colleges were like, well, you know what, we can take you, but we can only take this many of those credits. And you have to take our core classes for 2 years, right? Or
exactly. And that's what a lot of veterans don't understand too. It's like any institution you go to, especially even like USC or any private institution, they're not going to say, hey, we're going to take all these credits and we're going to give you a degree from them. So like veterans should understand too, your core classes are going to get taken at that institution. But at least you're right on the right track. At least you started your education.
So I want to kind of shift fire a little bit. So because we have a couple people that are viewing right now, and I'm assuming some of them are trying to get some more information on how, besides just applying for the VRE, like what's some of the things that they should start prepping now? Let's say they they have their appointment set up. What should they start prepping now so they can actually have a successful transition into the program? So some of them are looking, to finish a bachelor's degree or, whatever else.
I would just say for most of the applicants we have is like, just be prepared, do it, complete the documents. Because the biggest thing, we hate is like counselors is like, someone applies for the program, their email's not right, their phone number's wrong. So like veterans should from day one on e-benefits, and then VHA is separate from, other educational programs too. So like, all their documents should be up to date, their phone numbers, their addresses, and their emails. Because there's a lot of times we're trying to call veterans or send them emails like, hey, you applied for the program. And they're like, hey, I never got anything, because they're using like the whole email. So pretty much, make sure all their records are up to date. And then pretty much, if they apply for the program, be proactive when the counselor sends them all the information, fill out the information, be honest with the counselor when you meet with them, because there's other ones, you have pride too, you know what I mean? It's like, that's why I said, like, every individual is different, an individual, this person might be going through military, sexual trauma. This person could have been going through other issues, but just be honest with the counselor and kind of let them know what your situation is when you're talking to them.
Does it make it easier for the veteran, for you guys, for veterans to say, look, this is what I want to do. This is some of the job openings that they have. This is some of the, classes or universities I want to go to. Does that make it easier for you guys to kind of put something together? Because I know some veterans are like, I don't even know.
Well, yeah, because you're talking about feasibility. So feasibility is when you don't know if a veteran can actually, so like you might have a veteran come to me and like, hey, Eric, I want to get a master's in this, and I'm looking at their transcripts. I'm like, well, you got a 2.0. Feasibility of you probably trying to do, graduate work. It's not. It's like there could have been stuff that was happening at that time. But the bottom line is we're looking at this stuff to mean like, you don't really meet the graduate level, even in an undergrad or something like that. And they look at all your records. I mean, I've had, like, when I was a project manager, I was like going to hire people, and then it's like, we're hiring people, and there's like, well, this person has a degree, and they're telling me like, well, I want to see their transcripts, because they actually want to see what their grades were when they were attending school for some of these high positions that we were hiring. People for, not just veterans. I mean, most of them were civilians, but I mean, they were getting paid, $40, $50 an hour. And they're like, I don't really care. They want to do, they have the degree. I want to see their grades too, because I want to see where they were on that tier. So a lot of veterans, basically, it's like, don't take, classes for, granted. Do the best you can. And then, just try to have like something you can build on, a foundation. But yeah, you're right though. So it's easier for me to help a veteran that is already focused. And then we're kind of looking at, well, as long as, I entitled you because you have XYZ, if you're not going to exacerbate that or make that worse, then, I want to support you.
Yeah.
I have a quick question, sir. So I know that when I went through chapter 31, my counselor, Lisa Wong, was amazing. But she made me do a lot of the legwork. She made me work before that chapter 31. Are you guys still doing like you have to go and do market research? Yeah,
you have to do the labor market research. You have to do, because everything is different for every. It's like you can go to Louisiana and probably get a job with. I'm not putting them down or anything, but that labor market might only require you an associate's degree, where like in LA it might bachelor's degree or something else. So it's like, you have to understand what you're going into, because I mean, basically this is a career. We're trying to get employment. We're not having you just take classes to basically say, hey, I wanted to do this job for a little bit, and like, oh, it's really not working out, or I'm not really getting hired. It's like, well,
basket weaving,
no duh, because like on your labor market research, there's only a couple %. So it's like the same thing. People that want to do like music, things like that nature. Yeah, it's a good goal to have, but is it feasible? Are you really going to find as many jobs as like an accountant? So yeah, that's part of it.
I want to submit an application. I want to become an underwater sniper.
Yeah,
and I found a really good course. That I want to get into.
Yeah, and here's another thing too for vets that out there that looking to get into this program. Like, don't get sold by schools telling like, hey, as soon as you graduate, you're gonna make X amount of money, or this is a top. Like, literally do your research.
Yeah.
Because and here in California, by counties are different. Whatever you see in Los Angeles definitely is different out in Orange County and San Bernardino. Yeah. So keep that in mind.
You know what? In the
requirements.
And all of the processes that I have gone through the VA, whether it be disability, chapter 31, chapter 33, it requires work.
Yeah.
You have to do your own legwork. You have to do your due diligence on the industry that you have. So for a lot of us, because I know that I went through it, that you think you're entitled to these benefits, and you are. But you have to do the legwork, man. So it's in any of these, especially with Chapter 31, if you want to further your education, you have to do the market research. You have to be, you have to show your counselor that this degree is going to fit you and it's going to last you and put you in a better position than you are today. So
based on your disabilities.
Based on, you know, what, you know, any, you know, perfect world you're looking at, you know, what are your disabilities? You know, is this, you know, if they're physical, then we're looking at administrative, sedentary environments, you know. If they're, you know, mental, then you can go either way, but then the same thing, you know, I'm not going to have you be a cop if you're, you know, 100% PTSD, because we know, like, even like as veterans too, if you're 100% like, you know, PTSD, it's almost like you're not functionable. You know what I mean? You can have some hard time and you don't want to be in a job or something where it's going to be exacerbated. So we're kind of, you know, we look at that, you know, and then also too, it's like, the feasibility, you know, they have to be able to complete everything. And basically, you know, you have to, like, you know, you want to put them in a good job where they're going to thrive. You know, you don't want to have, like, go through all this training and it's like you have no, you know, reason to be in that job. And then the other thing, just like you mentioned too, Jose, about the disability and other things. So you always have, you know, you always have your appellate rights. So it's like, you know, the counselors, you know, don't think that if you came to this program or you got denied that it's the end of the line. You know, it's like you can apply, you know, you'll get assessed and then your appellate rights. So it's like, you know, just with disability, if you disagree with this within so many days, provide new evidence, and then you go from there. So just want to make sure veterans understand that, you know, we're not the bad guys. You know?
Yeah, actually, one of our listeners earlier posted, like, it took him 10 years to get his 100%, and I can attest to that. It does say, but you have to be diligent about your appellate, you know, your rights to appeal. And I'm sure he stayed on top of it. That's why he mentioned it. But yeah, you're absolutely right, sir. So
I have one more question for you, Erik. So for those veterans that are looking to going into the self-employment track, has anything changed?
You know, not really.
Okay.
Self-employment, it's kind of really hard in our track because most of the veterans, you know, they're able bodies. So the bottom line is there's a couple categories. There's 1 and 2, and they can research it and they can Google it, like M28C. So the M28C. So it's actually made public to the veterans, and a lot of the veterans, you know, they'll Google it and try to, like, you know, argue with the counselors or like, I want this or I want that, but pretty much that's the guidelines we go by. Self-employment is kind of tough because, you know, the ones that, like, he lost both legs and, you know, he can't work and, you know, he's in a wheelchair, he can't go to a normal setting. Those are the ones we're really kind of focused on, you know, with the self-employment. The other category is if you're able-bodied and you're able to, you know, you got education, you got work experience, you can get to and from you're not housebound. You know, you're in a different category where we're just kind of assisting you with your, you know, your plans, putting you in the right direction. So, you know, I know a lot of veterans come on like, hey, I just want to start my own business, but, you know, that's where we're really basically just trying to get disabled veterans back to the workforce. So again, they can research that. It's more restrictive again too. It's like, unless you're like really housebound, there's not going to be a lot of assistance there in the self-employment. But again too, it's case by case. I'm not speaking for VR&E. I'm just, as a counselor or veteran.
Right.
cool.
Well, do you have any more questions?
I mean, I think you hit everything, you know, where it needs to, and without, you know, implicating anything with the VA. You know, I know he has to watch out a lot too, but, you know, I think all the information you provided was very important and vital. Me and you went through the program together, so we got to do some amazing work for the VA, and you know, I'm glad you had the chance to come out today.
Yeah, thank you for definitely.
Yeah, it's extremely informative, man. So thank you, sir.
Yeah, definitely. So as 10 Hut, you know, as a, you know, we all have this question for every veteran. What is your favorite MRE?
My favorite MRE?
Yeah.
Oh, damn, you guys put me on the spot, huh?
Yeah.
Please don't say mac and cheese.
Don't want to get my age away, but I mean, way back in the day, I think the ham slice was the best. because you could cut that up.
That is like the biggest rubber meat.
Nah, man, you can cut that up and put it in some ramen. But I know as I started to get out, man, they had like cheese tortilla, man, they had all this other stuff. I'm like, man, this is great now.
Right.
Actually, I forgot about cheese tortellini. Cheese tortellini was actually
We're gonna do an episode where we open this sucker up. So
I had that one too.
With Chili Mac.
that one was pretty good.
Yeah, but I think that was one. It's like, it's more of like a meat. You have beef patty. Remember some of those?
Yeah.
Hot dogs.
You know what's surprising that this guy knows what an MRE is? That's what's surprising.
Yeah. Because he's Air Force.
I know.
Erik, before you go, there's some listeners that are teenagers that are in high school that are trying to join the military.
Yeah.
What advice
Air Force.
as a
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it just depends. Serve your country. We're in a different stage now, because even when I came in, we were like, kind of at peace. And right when I came in '90, that's when the shit hit the fan, and we were pretty much in conflict for forever. And now we're just starting to pull out, too, with the new, the new date, for Afghanistan too. But I would always just say, as I always wanted to be a Marine. So that's why I chose that. But I always thought, my daughters, if they wanted to go in the military and serve their country, go Air Force. Because I know. No, but I'm just saying too, because you're a little more safer because what you're doing, depending on what you're doing. Yeah. But they really focus on like training and education, because I know when I was going to be in charge of a PME school, and I know that the difference between like the services was the Air Force was really focused on that. Hey, if you come to the Air Force, they wanted you to have all your PME training, to where it's like you're going to have a degree when you get out of the Air Force if you do your 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether it's like the Marine Corps and some of these other ones, it's like you're doing some classes that you're going to get credits for. But when you get out and all that education, all that stuff you did, it's like an associate's degree.
Yeah. So that is true. I give the Air Force for that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So I know the Air Force really takes a look at that, and I think they were the first ones to actually start that tuition assistance, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
So for people that are not familiar with what Erik is talking about, E8 and E9 for the Air Force, if you don't have a undergrad, a bachelor's degree, you're probably gonna be struggling to make that. You better be like some badass mother that
So it's actually an associate's and an undergrad. I just wanted to.
What's that?
An associate's and an undergrad, because undergrad and bachelor's is the same thing.
Oh, you should have about 2 or 3 associates and an undergrad to make E8 or E9.
Yeah, there you go.
The associates in the Air Force is almost given. You know that, right?
Well.
No, I didn't know. Well, I wish the Army was like that.
Well, it's another.
Damn it!
Talk another thing.
Hey, Pedro would have gotten an associate's in basket weaving. He was really
basket
good.
weaving. Yeah, there's actually a show, Underwater Basket Weaving. It's on YouTube.
I just want to throw this out. We still got listeners or what?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing too, I always want to throw out to any of the individuals that basically, if you are working, you got a good job, and you might not be entitled to our program because we're an employment program. So if you're just looking for additional education or to try to better yourself promotion wise, then always go. You can always apply for California Department of Rehabilitation, so DOR.
Yeah.
So we use them a lot too, and then especially if you're a veteran that's collecting an SSDI, you're unemployed, you're almost automatically eligible. They don't call it entitled, they call it eligible. Yeah. So the same thing, it's like we tell those veterans all the time, it's like there's assistance out there even with the state, and you want to seek that too, because there's programs that they'll support that VA programs don't, because it's federal and state.
Yeah.
So that's another thing too they can look into and try to expand their opportunities. So California Department of Rehabilitation, they can Google that, look that up, and then apply for assistance with them as well.
Yeah, especially you just give them your disability rating and paper, and then
the state's actually easier to kind of get eligible for, because ours is service connected is primary. We do look at non-service connected, but they're different. So the state, any kind of ADHD, different things. You name it. you can have a disability, you know, as long as it's with the state of California, then you can, you know, get assistance with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so it's good
Wow.
stuff, and you can use both programs definitely together. You know,
Oh,
yeah, cool.
well, even for children, because a lot of veterans, you know, they have, you know, kids that have disabilities, and they don't really know that. They don't really know that, hey, I can reach out to the state and try to assist my kid, you know, getting a job, especially with, like, you know, different disabilities. That could be mental disorders and things of that nature.
Right.
Where they have more assistance and can actually help you.
Yeah, definitely. Erik, thank you so much, man. We appreciate your time. You know, this is some great value information because, you know, I'm pretty sure like Will and Jose and myself, we always had questions about like how to get into this program and what to do, you know. And salute to you guys. Thank you so much for the feedback. I ran out of my whiskey. So make sure. Okay. Hey, Will, where is the thing at? So they can look at it, you know. But anyways, subscribe to our channel, share this video, like this video. The more subscribers we have, when we get to 100, we can actually customize our YouTube channel. So we're close. Help us. Anyways, guys,
more veterans. That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, definitely. That's the thing we're doing, you know. So more eyes on our channel. All right, guys, until next time, take care and salute.
All right, see you.